Let's get ready to rumble! Ugh. Hit the little mic screen with my tiny titty.
Oh, no.
That was fun.
That was fun.
Sometimes fun when they get in the way when they're this small, you know?
Most action I've had in weeks.
God damn!
How's it going, Aaron?
It's going pretty good. How you doing?
Oh, shit. Who's got their sound on when we're recording? How rude.
Is it me?
It's me.
No, thank God. I was like, I'd never have it on. How did that accidentally happen?
I never do either, but we're just listening to the mating calls of a bull bat, so.
Oh, we sure were, yeah. Gotta get all those sonic booms in, you know?
Uh-huh. And if you know, you know.
And if you don't, like me, I'll be like, the fuck are you saying?
And then you need a bestie to help Google it on YouTube.
Yeah, so
because they make a sonic boom.
Go look up bull bats.
Mm-hmm.
Bull, as in a bull in
Like-
a pasture. That's not the sound bulls make, like a moo, cow, bull.
I was scraping my foot on the ground and I had horns up.
Yeah, but for all the listeners,
Yeah, honestly, you're just shit out of luck. You got to figure out what I'm doing.
good visual joke.
So, Aaron, what's your goddamn?
Well, my goddamn is just the other night, my little sweet darling angel baby boy came downstairs and he goes, "Hey, Mom, last night I got hungry and I just came down and got myself an orange." And
Oh, good for him.
Yeah.
Like, you just want to make us dinner?
Right? Well, it was the middle of the night that he
Yeah.
came down and got himself an orange or whatever. And I was like, okay. Like, did you go back to bed after? You know, like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
Because
like,
he'll
what's
do
going
that
on?
sometimes where he's like, I don't know, I just woke up. So I got on my Switch and now I've been up for 24 hours. I'm like, Jesus Christ, dude.
Go to sleep. Yeah,
Yeah.
you sleep like the dead, too, so you would never notice.
No, and
Unless
I
you
don't.
accidentally wake up.
Exactly. And he's fucking sneaky. So anyway, he said he did that. And then Brandon was like, hey,
Don't do that.
don't eat in the middle of the night because that's how you get fat. And my little sweet
God.
baby boy looks him dead in the face and goes, so how'd you get fat?
Oh, shit.
The scream I screamed. Oh my God. I was like, burn! Sucks! Like, whoa, you suck. Oh my God, that was the best.
Oh,
And,
my God. Did he laugh?
yeah, he laughed and he was like, from eating food at midnight. Like, fucking, that's how, actually.
That's what I'm telling you, man.
There's a lot of self-reflection here.
At least you're growing him up to be just as witty and quick.
Uh-huh. Oh, man. Got me right in the funny bone. I was like, oh, you fucking
Love
got
it.
you.
Oh, my God. Do you want to hear my goddamn?
Yeah, I do.
Well, this morning I nearly was assassinated by my cup of coffee.
Oh, no, what happened?
I took a sip all innocently. I was alone with my oldest son because I had to take him to school in the morning, and I'm sitting in bed, I'm having my morning time, I'm drinking my coffee, and I'm like, oh, this is so yummy. And I take a big gulp of it. It's like almost the end of it, right? And so I'm
Yeah.
like, I can fit this all in my mouth. And I throw it back, and I guess I forgot to close my gullet or something because that shit went right into my lungs. Like,
Oh,
fucking
no.
poured right in. I have never choked. Like, I thought I was going to die.
Oh, God.
I've choked on, like, lettuce at a restaurant or something. You know how, like,
Yeah.
when you eat and you start to cough a little bit and you're like, fuck, and you just, like, quietly try to, like, keep it together,
Quietly
even
die?
though in your mind you're like, I'm dying. Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
And you're
You know
just
how the
chugging
people
water.
die that way?
Yeah,
Like,
I know,
they
they
just
do.
casually go excuse themselves to go to the bathroom and die
In
'cause
the
they're
bathroom?
choking.
I know.
Yeah.
I actually used to take care of a lady whose husband died that way.
Oh, God.
But yeah, so anyway, I'm drinking my coffee, right? And then I feel it go in my lungs, and I'm like, oh no, because I have a fucking mouthful of coffee. And
Yeah.
I got a big fucking mouth. I can hold that shit. And I was like, oh no, what am I going to do? And I panicked for a second, and I thought, oh, spit it back in my cup, you know?
Yeah.
Because like, I'm going to die.
Yeah,
Like, this is me dying.
I'll get a new cup.
Yeah, exactly. I'll get a new cup of coffee. But as I was starting to spit it, my lungs were like, no, evacuate. And I went, and like coughed, and it sprayed everywhere, all over the room. And my sweet oldest son walks in the room at the exact same time that that's happening. And then I start making weird sounds because my lungs are trying to convulse to get air in. You know, they're like, "Ugh," whatever, I don't know. And I can't control what's happening because my body's like, evacuate the water from her lungs. So I'm like, coughing so hard that I'm gagging, and I'm like literally about to throw up. And my son's like, Mom, are you okay? Are you about to throw up? Like, do you need me to call Dad? And I'm just running. I can't even talk because I'm still trying to breathe,
Yeah.
like, get my
Figure it
life
out.
back, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, anyway, so I sat in the toilet for like 10 minutes. We were almost late for school because I literally could not stop. It went up my fucking nose. I'm pretty sure I had coffee coming out of my tear ducts. Like, it was so bad. And then it was dripping down my nose and gagging me because it was like the beginning of like the first part of the morning. So I had like all the fucking congestion from the night or whatever.
No.
And then every time it would drip down, it was sweet because my coffee was sweet. It was fucking awful. And my son was just standing there like, Mom, are you okay? Are you okay? And I kept being like, I'm fine. But like, I couldn't talk. And so he kept being like, Mom, I'm going to call Dad. And I was just thinking like, fucking how? You know?
Like, you know how to do that?
Okay.
Right.
Sure.
Get on it, kid.
But anyway, so then after I start to realize like, okay, Jesus himself has resurrected me. I'm okay. I fucking pulled through. I was talking to my oldest and I was like, hey, maybe this is a good time for us to teach you like how to call 911. Like, what if mommy really choked and I wasn't able to like talk?
Yeah.
And he was like, I already know how to call 911. I was like, okay, then go get my phone and show me.
Yeah.
And he was like, he stepped out and then he came back and he goes, Mom, where's your phone? And I was like, pretend I'm dead. And then he got a big grin and he's like, okay. That fool tore up my fucking room. It was just on the bed. I just put my phone on the bed because I was sitting there with my coffee, watching fucking TikTok, drinking my coffee. And then I died. And he tore everything off. I mean, he was having a blast with it. But at least I know he's got the fucking guts in him to go digging for it. Shit, man. And I was just sitting in there.
Where was he looking? What was he doing? Like emptying your nightstand off?
Like fucking pulled all the sheets off the bed, all over the floor. I don't know. He was gone for a while. And I was just sitting there like breathing again, like thankful for the sweet, sweet blessing of oxygen. And then he showed back up and he's like, I found it. And it took him forever. And I was like, oh God, okay, good job. And then he showed me how he would call 911. And he was able to do it. And I was like, hey, man, good job. Like, you fucking killed it. And then I walked out into my room.
Yes, this is just a test.
Yeah. It's like, don't actually call it. Then I walked into my room and saw the fucking disaster. And I was like, Jesus Christ, what is going on here?
Well, you were dead.
I know. Really, you could do whatever you want. And then, now I keep coughing. Like, my lungs are fucking mad. I'm probably going to die of pneumonia still. Like, we need to keep an eye on me.
Oh, no.
I'm still coughing shit up. And I went to Target. This is like the end of the day now. And I went to Target and my son was in the back seat and I was coughing a bunch. And like, I'm coughing shit up still. That's
Ew.
sweet.
Ugh.
Yeah. And he's like, Mom, are you okay? Like, he really wants me to go to like the hospital and shit. And I'm like, we'll see what happens. What am I going to do? Like, I choked on my coffee. Can you check my lungs? We'll wait until it turns into an infection, my kid.
It's just a solid dry drowning.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's fine.
We'll know. If I start rattling around or something.
You almost drowned yourself.
I did with my coffee.
We almost lost you today.
You did. Today was a rough day, but I pulled through, guys.
Thank God. You know? Oh, man. That's rough.
Be careful out there.
Yeah. I've had that happen before where it shoots down and gets you, but not fully to that extent.
I thought I was dying.
Yeah, that's pretty intense.
Like, at a moment of panic, like, body, breathe.
Hey, can we do that thing we've been doing for years?
Yeah. And then I breathed in all the coffee. Yeah, awful.
Ugh.
Anyway, so you want to talk about somebody else's untimely death?
Yeah.
Okay, well, good, because I have quite a case for you.
Oh,
this
good.
week. Actually, it was a reader suggestion.
Ooh,
What
from
up,
whom?
Heather? I'm not going to say the last name because I didn't get permission, but this came in from Heather literally this week. It was like the top of our email.
Oh, how fun.
And I happened to be like, anyway, I'm going to research. And I checked our email and it was like, case suggestion. And I had already heard about it. So, and I think you have too, because I think I sent you the TikTok of who this is.
Yeah.
But I did not know everything else.
Okay,
So,
number one, I do know which case it is, but I didn't get any further in other than the TikToks that went viral.
Right.
Like-
Oh, there's so much more. Like, it took me fucking forever to research this to like put it all together.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you about Brian Cohee.
Okay.
So bear with me because, like I said, I had to piece a lot of this together. I had to basically just watch documentaries and like Google as much as I could, but I couldn't find like a full write up. Or the one I did find, I think I had to pay for it, and I was like, ain't nobody got time for that.
Yeah, and also, I'll do it myself.
Right? I paid myself to do it. So, Brian Cohee, he was born January 10th, 2002.
Okay.
And I'm guessing it was somewhere in Colorado. I didn't like figure out where his birthplace was, but our story is taking place in Grand Junction, Colorado.
Okay. Real weird that he was born in 2002.
I know, so
Like,
young,
I
right?
don't like that.
When the crime that I'm about to tell you takes place, he's only 19.
Oh, God.
Yeah. he was born to his mother, Terry, and his father, Brian. So he's a junior.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know much about his childhood, but I do know that he was diagnosed with ADHD and as having high-functioning Asperger's.
Okay.
So he had autism. It turns out that Brian also suffered from some sort of major depressive disorder. And he would often fantasize about what it would feel like to murder somebody. Like, this was a common thing that he was known for
Okay.
in his friend group.
Don't love that.
No, yeah. They were just like, oh, it's just Brian talking, you know?
Okay.
About
You know,
wanting to murder
anytime
somebody
I've
someday.
heard that someone has that thought or
Trait?
feeling or whatever, that trait, that, want in their bones, they always end up killing someone. I don't think I've ever met anyone that's said that.
No, not out loud.
No.
I mean, you say things like, I'm going to kill him, but, like, you don't really mean it.
Yeah, but not like, man, I wonder what it'd feel like to kill
kill
someone.
somebody.
Like,
No.
that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's a crazy thought.
I know. And all of his friends and stuff, like, when they're being interviewed and stuff, they're like, yeah, we were just, like, the weird group of friends. Like, it was
I was
just...
the weird group of
I
friends.
know. That's what I was thinking the whole time. Like, I was in that weird group of friends.
Yeah.
Like, I was friends with everybody.
Yeah.
I know who you're talking about. I
was
know
in
why
that
you
weird
brushed
group
it
of
off.
friends, and that weird group of friends that was like, "Do you guys want to watch this beheading video?"
Yeah,
and
I
everyone's
was
like,
in that.
I guess.
I mean, we have a true crime podcast now.
yeah, but
But I don't want to see the video.
no, I'd watch it. I did watch it. But no, none of us were ever like, "Wow,
I want to
someday,"
do that.
you know?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, never once. Never once.
that's
In fact,
like
you
a-
were like, I don't feel well right now, and I think I'm going to pass on ground beef for a while.
yeah, and like, should we close this before the teacher comes back?
Yeah.
Because it's auto shop.
It's computer class. Yeah, so anyway, he would fantasize about killing someone.
Okay.
Brian would read about Ted Bundy and the Zodiac Killer and how these murderers would always say that killing someone is like the best feeling in the world.
Weird.
Yeah, and so Brian decided that he wanted to try it out for himself.
Oh God.
So on Halloween of 2018,
Halloween?
yeah, Brian gave it a bit of a trial run, I'll call it, and he murdered a stray black cat that kept coming into his dad's property. Well,
You know you're supposed to keep your black cats inside on Halloween
Because people do this shit?
of fucking assholes like this guy.
Honestly, I didn't know that, but it makes sense.
Yeah. Because people, people are dumb. And high school kids are satanic.
Oh my God, they are. They are so Santana. So this cat comes on the property, and Brian herded the cat into a sleeping bag. You're not going to want to hear this, by the way. And then he beat it and strangled it and snapped its neck.
Oh my God.
And then once he was done, he decapitated it, and he hid the body in a shoebox and the head in a wine cork box, which I don't know what that is other than those like wine cork cages that you can get at like wineries where you like store your corks in them,
Yeah.
which would be a weird thing to put a cat's head in. So I don't know what a
No.
cork box is.
And it says box. So I would think
Yeah.
it's just a box made out of wine corks.
well, that's even weirder.
Or like a box made out of cork. And it's like a wine box, maybe like a cigar box.
I'd be so pissed if I had a cork box and my kid put a cat head in it.
You're going to stay in the cork.
Honestly, like it'll never be the same again. And that's a shortage of cork right now. It's like
What a waste.
endangered. All right. So he kept both of the boxes for 3 days until they started to stink, and then he threw them away in the trash, and no one ever noticed.
In the house trash?
I guess.
Or like the
yeah.
outside trash?
Probably outside.
I hope that motherfucker took it outside.
I would imagine.
That's an outside trash.
Sort of event. Yeah. I
Yeah.
would agree.
Yeah.
I would agree. I would imagine he did, but I don't know for sure. But
Where
I
did
do
he
know.
kill it?
Like, I guess at his
inside?
dad's house?
Outside?
He didn't. Okay, so for the record, too, like in his teen years or whatever, he lived actively in his mom's house, but he would visit his dad's house daily. Now, as I understand it, it sounds like the mom and the dad are still married, but they live in separate houses.
Okay.
And it sounds like the house that his mom lives in, they primarily have it because she's running a daycare out of it.
Okay.
But that she chose to live there, which I'm like, makes sense, you know?
You're going to
Like,
live at your business. You don't have to commute then.
Here I am. And then you get your own house. Like, I daydream about having my own apartment or something,
Right.
you know?
Right, yeah. And then Brian would probably want to stay at the house without the daycare, or at least
Yeah.
be there during the day. So
Right.
he's probably at his dad's house during the day. And then
and
when
then
the kids are all gone from his
he
house,
goes
he goes
home.
back home.
Exactly.
That makes sense.
I'm sure that's what's going on, yeah. So
When does the dad visit?
I don't know. I have no idea. But anyway, this guy legit has all of the red flags to be a murderer.
Yeah.
And so all of his friends talk about how there was a rumor going around that he had killed a cat, but, like, nobody really believed him. Or I think, like, his best friend knew about the cat, but didn't really want to believe that he would do that. And everybody else was like, I didn't know for sure, but there was a rumor going around that he killed a cat. So, like, he's just known as this guy.
Ugh.
And he had so many problems at school. Like, his teachers, they'd have, like, conferences every fucking school year to be like, okay, how are we going to handle this? Because he would just say off-putting things in classes. Like, they were watching a documentary on some shit, and I don't remember what it was about, something with Asia, and he made, like, racial slurs and things like that. And, like, he would do it to get a rise out of people, and he was, like, known for it, but it was disruptive.
Yeah.
And then they tried everything, and his parents had to relocate him to different schools and stuff. And there was one teacher that was like, he didn't think that the parents were reactive enough, like, kind of, like, the mom maybe was like, I took it as like a space case, you know, like we kept telling her there were problems and she just kept being like, I don't get it, you know?
Oh God, that sucks.
Not a good recipe.
Yeah.
So now let's jump to 2021. And Brian is 19 years old at this point.
Okay.
And he's not taking his medications.
Good. That's always
So his mental health starts to take a plunge. At this time, Brian is driving a 2007 Ford 500, which I did not know is like a sedan.
Oh, I didn't either. I was like, wow, that must have been the biggest truck ever. Like,
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. And I
500? Jesus.
As I was filling it out, I literally was like, and he put this in his truck. And then I went back and looked at it. I was like, this is a sedan. Like, this is like a thing of like your mom's sedan.
Yeah,
You know? A Ford, whatever.
Just a Ford sedan.
2007, like my parents' car.
Yeah,
Think of
got
that.
it.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so in that car, he kept a small 18-inch bat and a large kitchen knife in the glove box. Both of them for self-defense.
Okay.
Which I find fucking hysterical to imagine somebody defending themselves with an 18-inch bat. Is that big? No, it fits in the glove box. Those are the little ones. I panicked for a minute.
Yeah.
It's like the little trophy ones.
Yeah,
or
it's like
whatever.
the trophy ones.
Yeah.
But
Listen, I know it would fucking hurt to get whacked with one.
we've talked about it.
I know it would fucking hurt, but like how comical
Yeah, it is
to
pretty
see
comical.
a grown-ass man winding up with a tiny little bat.
It's a one-handed weapon.
Right before you get whacked in the temple. You don't think he's like making sure his arms at like perfect fucking right angles and shit? Like
Right.
twist with the hips. Get your foot back.
You gotta do a little step and turn.
Oh my God. I just cannot imagine. And if it's a one-handed job, it's like, what if he misses? You know, like, oh, let's see.
Just flailing
I
it
just
around.
get such joy out of imagining it.
Yeah. Also, that one was in the glove box or the trunk?
The glove box.
Okay.
So I guess he had it had a big glove box. I don't know, at least 18 inches.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's an impressive size glove box.
That's what I always
Maybe
say.
it was busted.
Perhaps. So I guess Brian didn't trust anyone in the town, and I'm guessing probably because he got made fun of and shit.
Where
and he
was this, Denver?
like, bullied. This was Grand Junction, Colorado.
Junction. Okay.
So he has this shit in his glove box, right, to be able to defend himself if needed at any time.
Yeah, he's a 19-year-old kid. He's full of fucking adrenaline and
Bad
testosterone.
ideas. Yeah.
And bad ideas. He's like, come up
Exactly.
to my car, homeless person.
I'll fuck you up.
Yeah.
So it's February 27th, and on this particular evening, Brian is in a real bad state of mind. Like I said, it was a full moon, and Brian felt that since he could see so well from the light of the moon, that he should go for a drive and see if he can find a target to fulfill his murder fantasy.
Okay, that's
So.
kind of spur of the moment.
A bit.
I'm like, oh my God, we have such good light tonight. What a good time to do this.
You know what I want to do? I just want to go for a drive.
I've always just wanted to sit in a field with a dead body. Let's go find.
On a full moon?
Yeah, wow, that's so romantic.
How romantic. So he puts on a pair of what I would describe as mechanic overalls. I wouldn't even describe them as mechanic overalls. Like, they are mechanic overalls.
Were
Or
they
like
like
coveralls.
The
Like,
Mike Myers overalls?
girl, do you know how to read some minds? They were literally the costume from being Michael Myers, the Halloween prior.
Good. Yeah.
So it
nice.
was those overalls.
Okay.
And so he puts on those and he jumps in his car and he goes searching for his little ideal target.
That's so fucking creepy.
It's beyond creepy. It's fucking, this whole thing is so fucked up.
Yeah.
So fucked up. So his ideal target was someone who lived a high-risk life, who police were likely not to care about if the person went missing. So basically, he was looking for either a homeless person or a prostitute. And I
Okay.
guess he had a hard time finding a prostitute standing on the corner in Grand Junction because it's not a place where they're all just hanging out.
And
ready.
it's February?
Yeah, it's fucking cold out there, man.
I can't tell if that's just a walker or a night walker.
So Brian drives around for about an hour and a half, and at one point he has to stop and get gas. And he had taken that kitchen knife out of the glove box when he started this endeavor, and he put it in the jumpsuit, like in the pocket of his jumpsuit, but it was kind of sticking out. And so when he stopped to get gas, he's like, I can't be walking around the gas station with this fucking kitchen knife sticking out of my pants. So he takes it out and he puts it in the back seat of the sedan. And he gets out and he pumps his gas.
Really dangerous to sit with a knife in your pocket.
I guess he was ready to fucking strike, you know, like, boom, got my knife.
Imagine sitting in a car.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't like the idea of it at all. I hate it.
And then
You
it's
got
going
a
to
car
stab you in
accident,
the
it
thigh.
stabs you in the thigh. Yeah.
First of all.
Yeah.
The
The
moment you
airbag
sit
goes
down.
off?
Yeah.
Hope
what
it
a
was
terrible-
pointed the right way, my homie.
Also, you can't get it out. You can't even get your fucking phone out of your pocket.
Right.
At that angle.
Well, I'm thinking it's maybe like a cargo pocket or something, like a deep, because they're coveralls, you know how they have like the little pocket for the
Yeah.
hammer that you hang the loop on?
Yeah. Still, they go up to your hip.
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to fucking...
Yeah, I don't know. And this was a big ass kitchen knife, like the biggest one out of the butcher block when you buy it. You
He
know,
just
like
had that? Like, where did he get that? Did he get it from his knife
Well,
block?
later it's speculated that he got it from the kitchen because they had two houses.
Oh.
And so when they moved his mom's like place or whatever and like moved her into that house,
Just never
they think
noticed
that
it
they
was
just
gone.
didn't notice that it was gone. Yeah.
Oh, no.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh.
So he has the knife in his pocket, puts it in the back seat, pumps up, and then when he gets back in the car, he goes to grab the knife out of the back seat, but somehow fucking slips and catches it by the blade, and he cuts two of his fingers on his right hand.
Okay.
The cuts weren't bad enough to stop his plans, though, so he kept going.
Didn't need a Band-Aid.
I don't fucking know what this guy was doing, because, like, I'd be like, owie, like,
Yeah.
I'm done now.
Ooh, ow, that hurts.
Yeah, I don't want to do that to somebody else.
Don't love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he continues driving around, and it's like 11 p.m. at this point, and he drives underneath the Grand Junction Avenue footbridge, which is near Crosby Avenue in downtown Grand Junction, Colorado, in case anybody lives there and they want to know what underbridge this happened in.
Okay.
And it's actually, that bridge is actually located like legit right around the corner from the sheriff's office.
Oh.
So like all the police are right there, and he's just like, boop, like a block
Here's
away.
good.
Mm-hmm. So as he's pulling up to the overpass, he notices a shape under the bridge, and he was like, oh, that's a homeless person. Like, bingo. And so he pulls over, he puts on medical gloves that he had in the car, and he put on 3 layers on one hand and 2 on the other because he was worried about them ripping during the attack and like getting a partial print or something. So he doubled up.
Okay.
And all I'm
That's
thinking,
not how condoms work. Just so we're all aware.
well, I don't think that's really how gloves work either.
That's
like,
kind of what I'm getting at.
like,
Like, it's
it's
going to
a
cause
knife.
extra friction,
Yeah.
and it's going to break it or whatever.
now you've lost your agility, your nimbleness. So he puts on the gloves, and then he puts on a face mask to conceal his identity.
Is it
Now,
the Mike Myers fake?
they show the Mike Myers mask in all of the evidence photos or whatever, but I think it's just like, and this was part of the costume that he wore. Like, he still has the mask in his closet because he didn't say he put that mask on, and he was talking about this, like he was telling us everything.
Yeah.
So he put he just said a face mask, but
It could have been like a medical face mask.
yeah, exactly. But and then I think that's what it was, because then the officer was like, "Oh, so you were doing it to conceal your identity, not because of COVID?" And he kind of laughed, and he was like, "Yeah, not for COVID." So I think it's like a medical mask.
Imagine getting COVID from a guy you killed.
Can you imagine? So he walks up to the sleeping man, and he pulls out his 12-inch knife out of his pocket, and he pulls the canvas back that the guy was wrapped up in, and he immediately stabbed the man in the neck. Brian had gotten himself positioned to like straddled on top of him during this time, and so the man couldn't fight back, and he just started going crazy and stabbing this guy's neck over and over again. And the guy wakes up, and he's like, "Oh my God, what is going on? Like, what's happening? Why are you doing this?" And he was screaming and whatever, but Brian just kept wailing on him. And then he later admits that it was actually surprisingly easy to do, to stab somebody to death, because he thought it was going to be like way harder. But
Oh my God.
anyway, he stabs him, and at one point he pauses because the guy said, like, "Why are you doing this?" or "Why?"
Yeah.
basically. And Brian replied, quote, "I have been wanting to do this for a long fucking time." And then as he was stabbing, he was like making animalistic sounds. And this is all in like everything in this whole case can be seen in like either body cam footage or like interrogation footage. It's all available online. So he like reenacted the murder and was like growling and stuff. It was fucking weird. It was
God.
weird. But okay, so he is doing some weird shit, stabbing his neck. He's saying his like prophetic, like, oh, I've been wanting to do this for a long fucking time.
Yeah, what a fucking...
Mm-hmm. And then he continued to stab him for over 40 times. The entire murder took about a minute to a minute and a half of just stabbing.
That's awful.
That's fucking terrifying. After the man was killed, Brian stripped off his clothes, not Brian's clothes, the man's clothes, and he cut open the man's belly to see his guts.
What the fuck?
Yeah, and he said in the interview, he was like, they're surprisingly pink. Like, he was very nonchalant about this all. Brian then,
Is he saying it? Like, is he being like that to be a fucking asshole?
I think he's just excited for somebody to listen to his story. And, like, he's in the spotlight. Like, this is his time to shine. He was, like, giddy in the interview.
That's awful.
It's fucking terrible. I mean, like, you got to think of it. This is a boy who has been talking about killing somebody for so long, and nobody has ever been like, don't, there were people that either hated him or they thought it was funny or, like, accepted it or whatever. But the majority of people hated him. And so he's like, oh, I get the spotlight. Like,
yeah, everybody wants to hear me talk. I have something to say.
After seeing all the footage, because I watched all the body cam footage of all the interactions that I'm about to tell you about, because it gets crazier, okay? There's so much that I did not know to this story. But the whole time I was like, I see a very manipulative person. Like, sure, he has autism, but that doesn't mean he doesn't know how to manipulate. And he's manipulated everyone here. And I even think he thought he was manipulating people in that interrogation room. I mean, obviously, the investigators are trained for this.
Yeah.
And they handled it really well and, like, fed into his ego and everything. So he sang like a little birdie. But, like, he, to me, came off as if he were, like, proud of everything.
Yeah.
And, like, excited to tell someone. Like, if I were to tell you how I hit the fucking jackpot or some shit.
Yeah.
You know?
Ugh.
Yeah. Fucking disgusting.
Yeah.
So he cut open the man's belly, right? And then he cut off the man's head. Said he gave him a Glasgow smile or the Joker smile where you, like, cut from the lip corner to, like, the ear or whatever. And then he destroyed the man's eyes by stabbing and twisting into them.
Don't like that.
He cut off the man's hands and he put them in plastic Ziploc bags and that he had brought for, I guess, such an occasion. Like, for hands. Like, Ziploc bag. He's like
a gallon bag?
You know, I don't really know. I did see pictures, but it was only like the corner because they blur everything out. And in my mind, I feel like it was like the quart-sized sandwich baggie.
That's too small for a full-grown man's hand.
I think it's just one hand and then another. I don't really know. I mean, I feel like you could probably...
I guess if you crunched it.
Before it, like, rigor mortises.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why?
I don't fucking know. But he had the Ziploc bags. And then he...
Is this an underpass that people are driving under? Like, it's a road, right?
Yeah, like there's a road and then there's a bridge and there's like railroad tracks next to it also. So there's like a lot of fucking action, but it was 11 o'clock at night. And I guess because they kept asking, like, weren't you afraid of getting caught? And he was like, the spot I was in was secluded enough. Like, nobody was going to see me. And if they did, they would just see me. Like,
yeah,
they wouldn't see what
I'm
I am doing. Yeah. So he just really wasn't that worried, I guess. And even like being right around the police station, he was like, not too worried about it. Like, I guess it was quiet enough.
Oh, God.
So he puts it in Ziploc baggies, the hands, and then he cut off the man's right arm at the elbow and then at the shoulder. And then he went to cut off the left arm, and he tried at the elbow and at the shoulder, but he couldn't get the cut to go all the way through. And he was literally just using this 12-inch kitchen knife, and he said that he was just, like, pressing into the joints, and they were breaking. He was like, it was really easy to do.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, like, this is how detailed this man is getting. So he ended up mutilating the arm, the left arm, so bad somehow that the humerus bone, the top bone that, like, connects from, like, your elbow to your shoulder, it had busted out of the skin, like, broken and busted out of the skin.
What the fuck?
Like, he is fucking cranking around on this shit.
Oh,
like, it's
God.
not a gentle slice and dice.
Yeah.
So, and I guess he got frustrated because he couldn't get the arm off or something. And so
he's a weak little bitch.
That's right, motherfucker. So what he decided to do in his fit of anger was throw the arm pieces around the murder scene or whatever and just, like, fucking picked up an arm piece and chucked it as hard as he could. And he did that to all of them till they were scattered everywhere.
What the fuck?
Yeah, and like it's obviously still like it's still a murder scene. He can't throw that fucking far.
No, exactly. Like, oh look, there it is.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. It was like, oh look, there they are. So then he left the mutilated torso, which had its legs still attached, at the scene, and he put the head in a leftovers box that he had from dinner.
How again?
I have stewed on this for so long, and again, I was looking at crime scene photos, and I think I figured it out.
Okay.
Because he said that it was a leftovers box from dinner a couple nights prior, I was like, that's weird. Did he, like...
Was it a KFC bucket?
Yeah, like, what the fuck? It looked like, I think, I saw a pizza box that looked like it was folded, not on the crease, you know, like busted higher. So I don't think it was, like, actually nicely put away. I think it was just, like, squished in a pizza box.
Oh, my God.
I'm speculating, though, because I saw a photo that looked like it had a head in a pizza box, and it was, like, a photo of the pizza box for evidence. So, like, why? You know?
Yeah.
And it kind of looks like maybe, like, a wet imprint of where a possible head could have been. You know, like you could see hair strings or whatever. Or a pizza. So that would make sense then if he was like, oh, it's a pizza box and I grabbed it on the way out or something, like to take it to the trash and just threw it in the car.
Yeah.
Or was like, I'm going to save that in case I need it to put a body part in. I don't fucking know. But he put it in a leftover box.
Okay.
So he puts that shit in his car. And then he drives home and he hid the head and the hands in his room in a plastic bag.
Okay.
It was a trash bag, like a white, hefty with the red drawstring or a yellow drawstring or whatever.
Like the Glad bags that smell real strong?
Yeah, but I don't know if it was scented, but it was a trash bag.
He was like, this will hold it all in.
I have a solution to this issue that I have created. So he cleaned up the kitchen knife and he threw away all of the garbage and shit that came like from his things. But I think he threw it away in the house because there was still like there was evidence, right?
Yeah.
So I think he just threw it in his like maybe not in the house, but like his outside trash can. Like he didn't try to hide it very well. So then he took his blood-stained jumper, like his coveralls, and he put them in the wash and he ran them through twice on high speed to like get out all the spatters. Yeah, that's what he said anyway.
High speed?
That's what he said.
Bitch, you gotta put that shit on hot.
Like centrifugal force is just gonna blast out those fucking red blood cells? I don't know. I have no idea. I don't know.
That's a deep clean. Like
I
you
feel
don't
like that's
need
some
a high
peroxide
speed.
or bleach.
Yeah.
But you can't bleach a blue
No,
overalls.
you should just burn them.
Yeah, great idea. Or just chuck them around with all the other arms.
Honestly.
No, he put that shit on high speed and he was like,
don't want to waste my good coveralls.
Mm-hmm. I need to wear that again.
Ugh.
He tried to go to sleep, but as he lay down, he couldn't sleep because he was concerned about like the fact that the crime scene was so close to the police station, and he was thinking like, oh, that body's going to start to decompose and smell, and police officers know what decomposition smells like, so he's going to be found really soon.
Did he think that they weren't going to find the body?
I guess. Well, his goal here is that they won't find him, right? So
yeah,
he's
no,
thinking,
him, I get, but like the body.
Yeah, that you just left there?
Yeah.
I
They're
guess.
gonna find the body.
Right? And I guess he didn't think about that till he was laying in bed, and then he was like, oh no, like that's going to be too soon. There's still going to be evidence. So he gets back in his car the very same fucking night, and he goes back to the crime scene, and he picks up the remains of the man, which he says is very heavy, which I'm like, yeah, that's a whole ass man. You just took his head and arms off.
Yeah.
Like, that's no weight.
Yeah.
Well, I guess the head's pretty heavy, right? 9 pounds?
Something like that. But still, he's still got, 200 to deal with?
Fucking right. So he gets the man's torso and legs into the trunk of his fucking sedan. And then he's like, I have an idea. I'm going to go take it to the Colorado River, and I'm going to dump the body in the Colorado River. Well, he goes to this boat launch area, and it's called the Blue Heron Drop-Off Station. It's like a dirt
a boat ramp. Yeah.
Yeah, like it's not cemented in or anything. It's just a dirt boat launch ramp. And he backs his sedan up to the water, takes the body out, and throws it in the water.
You know that's really fucking suspicious, right? Like when a sedan with nothing towing on it
is backing into the boat launch. Yeah.
Do you think there might be a camera on the boat launch?
I don't think so, because it seems like this is kind of small town vibes.
Yeah, if I owned a boat launch,
right?
Like I'm gonna see who's putting shit in this water.
I would too, right? Like let me set up that camera.
Yeah, like a trail cam,
and you get to watch all the people who fuck up.
Yeah, and it's in Colorado. Like there's got to be a ton of A, fuck ups, and B, like nature shit. You know, people
I'm
going
sure there's
out
a lot
hunting.
of boat ramps though too. You know.
Yeah, but that's yours.
I guess.
Or if
It
it's
did
like the
not
one
look
by
like a
your
very
house.
well-kept one. It looked kind of like the side of the road, like, oh, look, there's the river.
Oh, Jesus.
But
Okay.
anyway, so he backs up there, throws the body into the river, and the current doesn't take it because it's stuck on the
Boat ramp?
yeah, basically on
Because he didn't drag it into the water.
exactly. So what he did is he said he didn't want to get like fingerprints on the body or anything, so he used his feet and he like prodded him out.
How do you get
into
him out of the
current.
car?
That's what I was like. I don't get it.
I
Maybe
used my
gloves?
sleeves.
I don't fucking know.
Like what?
I have no idea. But he gets him out. He prods him out into the water until the current takes him away. Okay?
Okay.
And then he gets in his car and he's like, job well done. Time to fucking rock. And he goes to start up the car and puts it in drive, but it won't fucking go up because it's too steep and it's all dirt. And he's in a fucking sedan.
That's fucking hilarious.
Do you want to know what's more funny? He slipped into the fucking river in his sedan. He's in the river that he just dumped the body in, like submerged. Like the whole thing is submerged and getting caught in the current. So like the back end is getting pulled downstream and the front end is facing upstream and it's just like stuck. And he's like, oh no. And it's February, so it's freezing. It's in Colorado. The water's nearly freezing. And he's like, oh no, I'm going to die of hypothermia. Like I have to get out of here. He starts panicking and he gets out of the car and he didn't have his phone or anything on him. He said it was the battery was dead, but I'm sure he didn't bring it with him because he was dumping a body.
Yeah.
And he fucking knows, right? Like you have to have your phone on him. So then he had to wait for like 5 minutes for a car to drive by and he flagged them down and he was like, I got my car stuck, whatever. And they let him use his phone to call his mom. Okay.
Okay. Mom was like, what are you doing out at a boat ramp?
Like, what the
At
fuck?
fucking midnight?
Oh my God. But remember I said his mom kind of seemed a little like
Spacey? Mm-hmm.
So from here on forward, there's basically body cam footage of everything that happens.
Yeah.
So he calls his mom to get him help. And the police come because his mom obviously shows up and is like, I can't get that out of the fucking river. Like, I don't know what to do. And she comes with the dad. And so they try to call some like tow companies to see. And everybody's like, I don't want to get in the water. I don't know how to get that out. And so they call the police.
Push it. Like,
exactly. They call the police and the police are like, I don't know how to get this out of the river. Like,
and there's
what
a
the fuck?
fucking body floating like 15 feet away.
They call the police. And Brian is sitting in the passenger side of his fucking parents' sedan or something. Not sedan. It was like an SUV.
Still.
And he's got no pants on because he took his pants off so he doesn't freeze to fucking death because it's like sub-zero temperatures out.
What the fuck?
What the fuck? And the police officers the whole time are kind of joking like, I've never done this before. So they're like, what happened? And they pull
Why
up
were
on the
you
mom.
out here?
They pull up on the mom and the mom's like, oh, I guess he was going for a drive and he parked here to take a little time and then somehow like he started slipping down the hill or parked sideways or something. And then she kind of got confused and she was like, I don't really know. He's right there if you want to talk to him. And so they go up to talk to him, but then the dad's in the driver's seat and the dad starts talking like, oh, I actually own this boat ramp or I work over here for the life jacket program or something. So this is like extremely embarrassing. Like I see people mess up all the time. I can't believe my own son backed into the fucking water.
Mm-hmm.
And he's kind of like he's a really inexperienced driver. And the mom is even like, we didn't let him get his driver's license till he was 18 because we were afraid for him to drive. Like, he's not very good at this, you know? So they were kind of chalking it up to like, no big deal.
He's just an idiot.
And this is where I feel like he's being so manipulative because he just let them all talk about him in front of him. And then like when the police officer was like, how you doing?
Well, what's he going to do? No, actually, Dad, I got
it.
this.
Yeah, exactly. No. He was feeding into it. Like, yeah, I'm just an idiot. He is an idiot.
Just like a side thought is that you can't be a murderer and still rely on your parents to bail you out of situations.
Like, why he called his fucking mom.
He called his mom
in the midst of getting rid of evidence of a murder he had just committed. So this was 2 a.m. that she got called. Oh, so it was 3 hours prior that he was stabbing this man to death under the fucking overpass.
Oh my God.
Okay. And so the police officer is like, you know, how's it going? And he's like, well, it's a pretty fucking bad day for me. Like, I just made a mistake. I made a big mistake, like a $7,000 mistake or something. And the police officer is kind of like, yeah, man, like, are you hurt or anything? And he's like, no, I'm okay. And he's like, okay, good. Like, they were concerned about his well-being and his safety, right?
Of course. They don't realize that there's a body fucking floating away.
They fucking have no idea, Erin.
And it's
so
2 a.m. They can't see it.
in the fucking morning. And so then the mom is like, can I take him home? Like, do you need him for anything? Because now they're just trying to figure out how to get the sedan out of the water.
Yeah.
And he's freezing.
Yeah.
And so she's like, can I take him home so he can go to sleep or something? And I'll meet you back here. And like, they're waiting for a tow truck to call. Her phone's at like 10%. And the call keeps dropping. And everybody that they find doesn't want to come out and do the water thing, right? So the police officer is like, I'll fucking take it from here. You go drop him off and I'll meet you back here. Okay? So they go and drop Brian off. He's in bed sleeping. They come back. They get the car pulled out of the fucking river. And as they're pulling it out, the police officers are like, there's something red pouring out of the trunk. Like it's dripping down the license plate and it looks like blood. So they go up to the parents and they're like, hey man, did he get injured at all or anything? Because it looks like there's like blood coming out. And they're looking at it and they're like, yeah, it kind of does look like blood. So the officer's like, call Brian and make sure he's okay.
No.
Yeah.
Pop the trunk.
Yeah. So they call Brian and Brian's
Hey, it looks like there's a lot of blood in the back of your car.
That's what they fucking say. They're like, it looks like there's blood dripping out of the fucking trunk. Like, it's all over the bumper of your car and all over the license plate. Of course, it's the mom. So she's like, it's so weird. There's, like, blood everywhere. And he is like, what? What? No, I don't know what that, I have no idea whether, I don't have any sores. There's nothing wrong with me. Like, I didn't get injured. Yeah, I didn't get injured. And the mom's like, well, he had an operation done on his armpit like 2 days prior. Fucking, I don't know what, maybe a cyst removal, I'm guessing. But she's like, maybe in the adrenaline, he didn't notice that it got open. And I'm like, and what, bled all over your fucking trunk? Like,
Yeah.
what are you talking about?
Yeah.
But they literally excused it away.
We're just like, okay, we don't need to pop the trunk out. Take 4 seconds.
Nope. The police took the car, I guess, or like they fucking towed it or whatever, but they did not do anything. They gave it back to the parents. They were like, here's your vehicle back. Like that next morning, like, here you go. Or later that day or something.
How does
like,
the tow yard not pop your fucking trunk?
I don't fucking know. Maybe because they're not allowed to search it without your consent. I don't know. But I do know later in hindsight that the parents were really hung up on this little bit of information.
Yeah. Like
they
in
know,
life in general?
Like
before?
about the fact that it looked like there's blood coming out and that his car was in the river because they know that their son has a fascination with the morbid. And come to find out later that they had actually caught him putting together like a murder kit in his room. He had spent like $100 on like random shit, you know, that one would have in a murder kit, like zip ties and knives and all this other shit. And his parents found it and they threatened to call the police if he didn't throw it away. So like, I think they fucking knew. And they were just trying to piece it all together before they let the officer know. And so now I'm kind of thinking, because they acted kind of nervous in my opinion, in the body cam footage of the police officer when they got there. Like the mom right away starts talking for him. And then the dad starts talking for him. And the police officer was like, let me talk to him. Like he didn't say anything. He was like, oh, let me go talk to him. And then they all started talking. But I think that's kind of suspicious.
Yeah.
You know, like if you jump in because you don't want your son to talk or something.
Yeah.
I don't think they knew at all. And they did all the right things once they find out. But I think they were kind of waiting to put it all together. So we have this past event, right? And the mom and dad, I don't know that they're talking about it to each other, but they are kind of suspicious.
Yeah.
They're like, there's some weird events happening here, okay?
Where do you think that fucking blood came from?
Where the fuck do you think that blood came from? Later, Brian tells his mom, like later that day or whatever when he wakes up, because it all happens at 2 o'clock in the morning, right?
Yeah.
So later he's like, oh, well, he used to be in some special effects makeup class or some shit. And he was like, I had a bag of fake blood in there and it spilled. So that's probably what it is. It's probably just the dye of that. And she's like, okay. You know, like took it as like, okay, I trust him. So the police, right, they chalk it up to a driver mishap. They eventually give the car back to the parents. And nothing ever comes of that specific incident.
Okay. That's insane.
I know.
Okay.
I know. His dad gets the car back, and he finds the kitchen knife in it, which does not have blood on it because he took it home and washed it first.
Okay, and then put it back in his
And
car.
then put it back in his car. And then he found a wallet that belonged to a man named Warren Barnes.
Okay.
And it was like, I think it was between the passenger door and the passenger seat or something like that. Like it was somewhere on the floorboard or something, and he found it, and he was like, that's weird. What is this?
That's not my son or
Right.
any of his friends.
Exactly. And in Warren's wallet was a card for a company that was helping him find work. I can't remember the name of it now, but anyway, it was like it's like a big company that helps people find work.
Yeah, like a temp
Exactly.
agency type
Exactly. And I guess they work a lot with like homeless people and stuff. So Brian's dad calls the number and says like, "Hey, I know this is kind of a weird call, but I just found this guy's wallet and like and I think he said like at the Blue Heron drop off or something. I don't know. He said it very I'll tell you why he said it was at the drop off because he asks Brian, like, hey, where did this wallet come from? And Brian's like, oh, when I was down there at the drop-off, at the boat ramp drop-off, I found the wallet and I just chucked it in the car. And so his dad calls and is like, hey, this is a weird call. We found this wallet at the drop-off. Do you know a Warren Barnes? And the person on the phone was like, oh, my Warren, like, we've been looking for him. He hasn't shown up for work, which is so not like him.
Oh,
and so the dad's like, oh, my gosh, this is a missing person. Like, oh, I feel so bad. I hope you find him. If you find him, let him know I have his wallet. Not really putting together that maybe Brian.
All of the things before.
Yep.
Oh, my God.
And he was like, the dad later in an interview with the police is like, I believed him because he was so sincere. He was like, Dad, I found it. Like, he was so sincere in everything he was saying. The parents are like, I really believed him. And I'm like, I think you done good God. Yeah. Like, I think I'm speculating again, but I think he used his autism and mental health as an excuse to get away with shit.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I could see that in, like, even just the school stuff. Like, hey, all this stuff is going wrong. And then they talk to him, like, hey, what's going on? And he's, like, explains it away. And they're like, wow, he's being so truthful.
Right.
Exactly. He's, like,
so
really
they do
good
nothing
at
about
learning.
it.
Yeah. So then they aren't
doing
anything. And the school is like, hey, man,
do something. Yeah. So now I'm going to tell you a little bit about a homeless man named Warren Barnes.
Okay.
Who was downtown Grand Junction's sort of like local favorite homeless man. Everybody knew this guy.
Why would you go for the local favorite?
I don't think fucking Brian knew. I don't think he knew. He was trying to pick somebody who would not be missed.
Yeah.
And he picked the local favorite. So Warren was 69. And I guess he was like literally the nicest man ever. Like everybody fucking loved him. And he was homeless at the time, but actively trying to not be homeless. Like he was working with that program that was getting him a job and he was renting a room. I don't know why he wasn't in that room that night, but for whatever reason he wasn't.
Oh no.
And he was described as a very gentle man and a very enthusiastic reader. So he read a lot.
Aww.
And he eventually hooked up with that agency who was helping him find a room to stay in and take care of him, right? And I guess there's this bridal shop in town called Monique's Bridal. And the owner got a call from that agency that was like trying to find a job for him or whatever. And I guess they asked like, hey, can you help Warren out in any way? And I don't think she had like a job or anything for him, but she had this chair and she would put it outside for him to sit on because there was like a bookshop around the same area. And he would go get books and sit in that chair and read every day.
Oh, that's so sweet.
It's so sweet. And she would like give him money. She was like, I gave money for liquor or like whatever he needed.
Yeah.
Like they were all, everybody fucking knew Warren.
Everybody's crowdsourcing Warren's.
Everybody was crowdsourcing Warren. Yeah. Like he was just living his best life, right?
Yeah.
Maybe not best life, but
maybe not best
beloved.
life. He's on rough times, but people cared about him.
Exactly.
And it sounds like a lot of people cared about him.
Yeah. And he was like in that chair every fucking day. Like you could count on it, right?
Oh, God.
So on February 27th, the bridal shop owner was closing up at 5 p.m. and Warren was sitting out there reading his book. And she said something about, like, something along the lines of, like, I'll see you tomorrow. And Warren was like, yep, see you tomorrow. So she knew he was supposed to be back.
Mm-hmm.
But that night is when Brian murdered him. And so the next day rolls around and the bridal shop owner never sees Warren, like, all day, which is really unlike him. And that agency who had gotten the call from the dad saying, like, hey, I have Warren's wallet or whatever, had already been missing Warren. Like, he hadn't showed up for work for 2 days. So he
went missing literally that day.
Literally everybody noticed that day. And that agency ended up calling the bridal shop to be like, hey, man, have you seen Warren? We know he hangs out outside your shop, but, like, he hasn't made it to work, which is so unlike him. Then the bridal shop owner was like, that's not fucking right. Like, something is wrong. And she called the police and, like, got a missing persons report going for Warren, right?
Yeah.
A few days later on March 1st, so I don't know, like 3 days later or whatever, 2 days later, at around 1 a.m. in the morning, after having discovered Warren's wallet in their son's car, Terry, Brian's mother, decides to go poking around Brian's room because she's very suspicious of everything. Like, now she's hearing about this wallet of a man who's missing.
And then Googled the name
blood.
and finds him a missing person.
Well, and she had been telling, like, everybody knew about this missing Warren man. Like, it was all over the news and stuff.
Oh, my God.
I don't know if the dad knew about it, but I guess the mom knew about it because the mom kept talking about it to Brian in passing, like, oh, that man is still missing or whatever. And Brian, like, in the interview, would just kind of brush it off like, oh, yeah, I didn't know his name or anything. I think it was, like, Warren Brown or something. He named something very generic, and it was Warren Barnes. But, like, he didn't care about who he killed. He just knew that he was missing, you know?
Oh, my
like,
God.
uh-oh. that,
Yeah.
you know.
Like they're looking for him.
Yeah, somebody's looking for him. So the mom decides to go poking around his room because she's a little suspicious.
Yeah.
And like I said, she has a whole side gig doing fucking daycare, right? And there's kids at her house at this time.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So she goes poking around and she finds a big Rubbermaid container in his closet. Now, it was black. So I'm thinking it's like those Costco black ones with the yellow lid, but it didn't have the yellow lid on it, okay?
Okay.
And in that container, she finds a white trash bag. I'm guessing it also smelled because it's like 3 days at this point or something.
Yeah.
So she opens the first bag. It's double bagged, by the way. The first bag she's holding, it has Warren's head in it. She doesn't know that, though, okay? And she opens the first bag, and she sees that there's dried blood on the bag and maggots crawling everywhere. And she picks it up like, what the fuck is this? And it's heavy. And she's like, better take this to the sink because it's got maggots in it, right? So she drops it in the sink. And she opens
Your kitchen sink?
in her kitchen sink. And she opens that first bag still and notices an ear. Like she sees the side of Warren's face and she fucking loses it. And so she calls Brian's dad.
No, that's not your first phone call. That's not your first phone call.
Girl, it was her first phone call. Calls Brian's dad and is like, you need to get over here right now. I have something that you need to open immediately because I'm not touching it any further. She goes back into his
Just get
closet.
another set of prints on the fucking bag?
Right?
What's that for?
I don't fucking know. So well, I think she didn't want to believe it. So she goes back and gets the other bag out of the closet and puts that in the sink too. Doesn't open it, but it's got the Ziploc baggy hands in it. Okay. So the dad comes.
It's good to keep all the evidence together.
In one little tiny spot.
She's fucking where it was, undisturbed.
Oh my God. Okay. Also, almost forgot to mention. So there's kids in her house, right? She had to call up all the parents and be like, there's a family emergency. Your kids are okay, but I need you to come pick them up.
It's actually someone else's family's emergency.
Right now. Well, she's considering it hers because she's like, my fucking son did this. He finally fucking did it. I knew he was going to do it, and here it is in my goddamn house.
Could you imagine picking your kids up from that daycare and then hearing later?
I wouldn't let my kids go to daycare again.
Like ever.
You can't trust anybody.
No.
Oh my God, how
can't
terrifying.
At everybody's house.
Oh my God. Okay, so everybody comes and picks up the kids, right? The dad comes, looks in the bag. He's like, that's a motherfucking head, right?
Checks out, yeah.
They don't call the police yet. They do not call 911 because they're like, well, we have to get Brian here. We have to get the kids gone first and we have to get Brian here because we don't want Brian to run or some shit. So they text Brian, who had just left earlier that day to go hang out at a friend's house, and he had taken their fucking family Mustang or some shit. And so
his sedan has blood in it.
Exactly. Oh, and I guess the battery was dead, obviously, from being like submerged and stuff, so it didn't work anymore. So he's using a different car.
Okay.
Which my parents would have been like, fuck that, you walk now?
Yeah, you
Yeah.
ruined a car. You're not going to get access to a better car.
Exactly. So he gets a text from his parents or whatever saying like, hey, Brian, you need to come home because your younger brother needs to use the car because he was doing like permit lessons or whatever and needed to drive around.
Okay, good excuse, good reason.
Yeah, and I guess he like called his mom or some shit and was like, his mom was like, Brian, you need to come home right now. So I think he kind of knew what was going on because his friend says like he fucking peeled out of there so goddamn fast. Like he's never seen Brian leave so fast. And the person even took pictures of the driveway because it left like tire marks in it or whatever.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So I think he fucking knew what was going on.
Yeah.
So then Brian pulls up and the whole family's outside and they don't let him go inside. And the mom stands in the backyard and calls 911 as soon as she sees Brian. So like Brian's at the house now. And so she stands far away to where he can't hear her, but calls 911 being like, hey man, my son murdered someone. There's a severed head in the sink. And the person, the dispatch, is trying to get like as much details as possible. And she's like, do I have to fucking take a picture of it? Like, I don't think she said fucking, but she's like, do I have to take a picture of it? Like, can you please just send somebody?
Yeah,
And
I think
he's
I
like,
heard that 911 call, and it was like, I'm pretty sure it's real.
It's a fucking head.
I
Yeah.
didn't touch it, but
Yeah,
just
yeah.
get here now. Can you just get here?
Exactly. Well, and I didn't know that she had been sitting on that for however fucking long it takes to do all that shit before you can call 911.
Yeah, right? Although I would have called 911 when he's on his way.
I would have called 911 the moment I saw it, and I would have been like, sorry for the trauma, kids. I wasn't thinking about that. I
Yeah.
just wanted this head out of my house. I would have made all the kids go outside.
Yeah, they all would have been
We're
in
gonna
the
play outside.
backyard.
Yeah.
And then I'd be like,
lock the
oh,
door so nobody accidentally sees a head.
cops over here.
Yeah.
You can go into the house. Kids
Exactly.
go over there. We'll have a pickup on the side gate.
Right. Like, I would not have waited for all of that. But I guess also, if you think about it, like, the head, how long has it already been there for? You know? Like,
Oh,
what's
for
another
sure.
hour?
For sure. But I
I
wouldn't
just don't
want
think
it
I would have thought about it.
in my presence. Yeah,
Yeah.
like your first call. My first call wouldn't have even been to Brian's dad.
Yeah.
It'd be to the police and be like, hey, I've found some shit.
What
you
do I
know?
do?
Yeah.
I don't know. I probably would have called Lee too to be like, dude, am I tripping?
Hey, is this
I would have
yours?
opened the bag though. I would have kept going.
I don't think I would have. I would have seen the ear and been like, that's enough. But I wouldn't have gone back to get the hands and been like, let me put them all together. Like, that's weird. I'd be like,
Maybe
just
the
gonna
police did. I'm pretty sure.
close this
In
door.
the end, both of them end up in the sink. So I'm thinking the family did it. But okay.
Yeah.
So,
Police probably aren't going to be like, where have you been putting your evidence? In the sink?
Oh, let me go get it. Yeah. So, like I said, the body cam footage of all of this can be seen. Like, they blur out the bag, like what's in the bag and everything. But fucking thank God for that body cam roll, huh? Because we get access, front row seats to all this shit.
Oh, my God.
In the body cam footage, another officer is talking to Brian because Brian is there, right? The police roll up, they turn their sirens off or whatever. Brian immediately knows something's going on.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think anybody talked to Brian. Like, I think the police roll up as Brian's, like, just getting there.
Mm-hmm.
And so the police officers are like, hey, man, like, your parents have some concerning things that they found in your closet. Like, do you know what it is? And very nonchalantly, he's like, oh, yeah, they found a human head and hands. Those are from that missing fella that's, like, on TV. I murdered him. Just straight up, just talks about it. And the officer is like, with what? Like, how did you murder him? And he's just like, oh, with a knife. And he's like, well, why? And he's like, because I wanted to know what murder felt like. Like, just so disconnected, so nonchalant. The dad's in the background, but when he says, like, he murdered or whatever, Brian's body covers up the dad's head, so you can't see his reaction. But I'm like, what the fuck? What the fuck? What the fuck?
Oh, my
Like,
God.
you know already, but, like, to see your son say that, it's just like, gotta be. Meanwhile, just so you know, the mom is on the lawn fucking sobbing. Like, she's uncontrollable, inconsolable, like, losing her goddamn fucking mind.
I think I would be too.
Yeah, and the dad kept coming over and being, like, trying to comfort her, but
Hey,
was also
shut up.
trying to take the police to, like, the head bag, you know?
Yeah.
And so he was like telling his other son, like, hey, comfort your mom so I can take the police in there. But the dad was all squirrely too. Like, do you want me to go? Do you want me? I don't know. You know, like, he was all fucking freaked out too.
Yeah.
So
And the other son is just like, it's not going to be that hard to be the favorite anymore.
it's super easy. So the police go in, see the head. Literally on the body cam footage, the guy opens the bag and he goes, yep. And then he puts, the dad had put a, like, fucking, like, beach towel over the bag in the sink, like, fucking get that out of my sight. And so the police officer, like, pulled it back, opened the bag, is like, yep, almost like fucking inconvenienced the way the guy, like, flings everything back, and then he just peels off the gloves, like, that's a motherfucking head, like, that's a goddamn head. So
Oh, my God.
I know. So the police bring Brian in for questioning, and all of this is, again, on video. But Brian fully cooperates with the police, and he tells them everything that happened, which I explained to you already, what he did to Warren.
Mm-hmm.
And during the interview, like I said, when he was explaining the murder, he literally got on the ground and reenacted, like, stabbing, and he made these, like, growly
What the
sounds.
fuck?
Yeah. I'm sure you could easily TikTok it or something, but it's fucking unsettling. Like, why did you tell that part? Like, you're just bragging. Like,
Yeah.
and as I was stabbing, I was making animalistic sounds.
That's when you first said that. That was my very first thought. Was nobody knows that except him. Why is he telling?
That's why
it?
I don't know if any of it's true, and I feel like he's very manipulative, and he's showboating right now.
Even if that's the case, that's the like cringiest thing.
Everything he does in the interview, you have to go watch the interrogation.
Yeah, I'm going
Everything
to
is
after
so
this.
cringy. He literally gets out, like, during part, like, when he's explaining where he did the murdering and stuff, he, like, drew up on the whiteboard, like, a map for the police and everything. And then even as he was talking about it, when he's telling him, like, oh, I flung the body parts around, he's like, you know, you're going to want a circumference of, like, and he was, like, drawing about how far they should look, but don't go past the railroad tracks because I know crime scenes can get pretty large, but this one should stay like this. Like, he thinks he's, like, helping the police and that the police are acting buddy-buddy with him, but the police are probably like, you fucking fool.
Oh
Like,
my
we've already
God.
found it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I said, Brian maps out the remains, everything. The police go and they find the partial remains. It's just the arms of who they later identify as 69-year-old Warren Barnes. It's clear that Brian had a decent knowledge of criminology and crime scene stuff. Like, as he's talking about it, you know, like, just he probably has about the same knowledge that you and I have just from reading all of these cases, but
Yeah.
he was doing it out of, like, morbid curiosity. And probably some sort of beneficial factor on his end, you know?
Yeah.
So when asked what he did to prevent from being discovered, he said that he was very worried that the police would find the fibers on his clothes that he was wearing on the fiber of Warren's clothes. So to throw off the police, he, like, threw Warren's clothing all around the crime scene and, like, rubbed it on a bunch of shit or something so that, like, it would have a lot of extra shit. I don't know.
Harder to pinpoint. Like, I've walked under that underpass before, so maybe I had clothing fibers there.
I guess. Yeah, I don't know. Brian said that he was really worried about the fact that the remains would smell and that he would be found sooner, and that's where he got this river idea, because he was like, oh, the river washes away all of the evidence and everything, and usually you can't find the bodies, and it's the Colorado River, so that shit's flowing quick and pretty big.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna dump the body in there and then sail
And without
on
a
beat.
head or hands,
But why didn't he grab the fucking hands?
What?
Not the hands. But why didn't he grab the fucking arms, you know? Like...
Yeah, he should have put the arms in there too, but I guess you can't identify a person by their arms unless they have tattoos.
Like DNA? I don't know, man.
Yeah, I guess DNA.
Unless it turns into bones, and then he's like, whatever. Anyway, not a very well planned out operation, as we can see now, because it gets caught like literally 3 days after the murder.
The moment it happens,
Fucking 3 hours after the murder. Oh my gosh. Okay, so Brian admits that about once every 2 weeks, he would drive around looking for a target. He was waiting for a secluded area to do the attack in, and he says that sometime, and that's just, the opportunity happened to present itself, right? So that's why he did it.
Mm-hmm.
He says that sometimes he'd see girls walking down the street, and he would fantasize about killing them. He legit compared himself to Ed Kemper, and he said that he was basically inept with women, and part of him wants to know what it's like to, like, be with a girl and bring her home and treat her nicely, but, like, the other half wants to know what her head would look like on a spike.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, he literally said those words. So when asked how he feels about all of this now, he responded with, quote, "The next 16 years of my life look set in stone. Prison."
16?
Yeah. Homie, he kept changing the numbers, almost like he was prodding, like, well, at least 16. Well, 20. What do you think, like 20? And the guy just kept being like, I don't know, man. I'm just here to get the fucking story, That's up to the judge.
Man.
He said
25 to life, motherfucker.
Right?
It's Colorado? Do they have the death sentence? Probably not.
I don't fucking know. Probably not, though. I don't know.
Probably not. I don't think they do.
Brian said that if he could go back to that night, he probably would not have done it.
No, he would have.
Well, he says he wouldn't now because he knows what it feels like, and he was really looking for that best feeling in the world, and he describes the only feeling he felt was excitement. So he was like, yeah, it was exciting, but it wasn't like the best feeling in the world, so he was like, I probably wouldn't do it again. He's like, I'm not a serial killer by any means. I just wanted to see what it felt like, and I did it. And I wasn't planning on getting caught. Like, he's just so, like, disconnected from it all.
Jesus.
The whole interview, he sounded like he was more sad about the consequences that he was going to have to face and less about Warren's life. Like, anytime he expressed any kind of remorse, it was about, like, what he was going to have to deal with and not about, like, actually killing Warren.
Yeah, well, that's a very self-centered person.
Mm-hmm. He says that he was planning to keep one of Warren's fingers as a trophy.
Oh, my God.
And even reflects back on his decision and says that he probably should have just kept the finger and not everything so that it wouldn't have smelled so bad. I don't know how that shit got fucking maggots on it after 3 days. That's what I want to know.
And I don't know.
Maybe he was
in a sealed container,
dirty
too.
Already. Like, maybe
An unkempt house, but at a daycare. Maybe his.
No, I'm
just
thinking
room.
like maybe Warren wasn't clean.
Oh, fair. I mean, he
I don't
was unhoused,
but it seemed like
sleeping
he was
outside.
well kept. I don't know. Okay, so anyway, however it happened, there were maggots all over it in that time. The entire time that Brian was being interrogated by the police, he remained very calm and collected. He seemed very happy to be telling his story and was very matter of fact. And at some points, he kept chuckling as he would recall dismembering Warren and stuff. I would attribute it to how you and I joke about morbid stuff and how when it gets too deep, we're like, oh, whatever, ha ha ha, and we'll crack a joke.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like he was trying to do that, but it wasn't funny. The jokes were not funny.
It's not landing at all.
No, they were not landing at all. It was super awkward. On January 17th, 2023, so just last year, Brian's trial began, and he pleaded not guilty by reason of insanity. And his defense argued that he was clinically insane or whatever when he committed the crime. So the prosecution had to prove that Brian knew right from wrong and all this other shit. And since he came back to the body to hide it, among everything else,
mm-hmm. You knew what you were doing was wrong.
He knew what he was doing. And it was clear in all the interrogation that he knew what he was doing and everything. So obviously, it's pretty evident, he's not clinically insane. Also, 2 psychologists deemed him sane, and he was found guilty of first-degree murder. Good. The jury was like, yeah, that was not a good excuse. That was not a good defense.
Yeah.
And he was also convicted of tampering with a dead body and tampering with evidence. So at the ripe old age of 21, Brian Cohee was sentenced to life in prison without parole. It turns out, like I said, many people cared for Warren in downtown Grand Junction, and they were all very heartbroken over the senseless murder. And there has since been a memorial sculpture put up in honor of him. And
Sculpture?
Yeah, it looked like the chair that he would sit in, and then like a wooden sculpture of books in place of where that chair was. You know, like they put it on the chair. And it was placed between the bookstore and the bridal shower or bridal store that he would sit outside of.
How sweet is that?
I know, but his whole family, like Warren had family. He had a sister, he had a niece, and all this other stuff. And they were like,
people do.
I know, and they were like, he was like the sweetest man ever. Like he never bothered anybody. And actually, you can see on body cam footage of people being interviewed because they were like talking about Warren. Like his wallet showed up at that boat ramp or whatever, and that bridal store owner was like, he could not have walked all the way down there. Like there's something wrong. I'm concerned. And then another couple was like, oh, I feed him every morning. He comes in before the shop opens. I give him a coffee and a drink, and he is the nicest man ever. Like he looks a little rough, but he's not, you know? And so like people were talking to the police because they were concerned about him. He picked the wrong motherfucker to fuck with.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's so sad.
Yeah.
And senseless.
It's so senseless. Anyway, you guys go check out those interviews.
Yeah, I'm going to.
They're in the sources. One of them is really well done. Really well done. I was trying to think of like the name of the channel, but it's not coming to me. So you know what link to click on. You'll find it.
Just watch them all.
Mm-hmm. So you won't regret it. I literally spent all morning doing this, and I started researching yesterday. Like I had the written portion out, and then I was like, I'm just going to watch this documentary and this one and this one. So I've seen like all of the footage.
Oh my God, I'm so excited to watch it.
Did you know all of that shit though?
No.
Like I just knew the part where it was like, oh, this kid just stabbed a homeless man.
Yeah.
And I think I knew about the Michael Myers jumpsuit or something, and that he was just like so open to admitting it, and that there was body cam footage.
I saw the TikTok where his mom had given the 911 call, and then where she was like on the ground hysterical.
Yeah, that was
like,
body cam footage.
And the guy was like, or Brian was like admitting to it.
Yeah.
I knew about the Glasgow smile thing because he was like, you know, like the Joker, because the guy was like, what the fuck are you talking about? He's like, I give him a Glasgow smile, and I'm like, ugh, I hate you.
Yeah, I
like,
know.
Ew.
See, that's what I mean, though. I think the investigators, like, obviously knew what that meant, but they were, like, you know, going, like, oh, what do you mean? And he was just eating it up to be able to tell them all this stuff.
Yeah.
He even says
and to be gross about it.
Oh, my God. At one point in the interview, there's two people interrogating him, and one's, like, the really nice lady, but she's probably the most strategic, and then there's the man that's, like, just trying to get everything he can out of him, but then the lady keeps, like, coming back to certain things and, like, you know, stroking the fuck out of this man's ego so that he'll, like, tell her everything. And so she's like, so when you get home, what do you put the remains in? And before he goes on to say that, he puts them in a plastic trash bag and a Rubbermaid thing in his closet. Before he goes on to say that very simplistic thing, he goes, well, you know, I have a rule of threes. There's a rule of threes. So 3 hours after a body is dead, rigor mortis sets in. 3 days, it starts to decompose. 3 weeks, it's almost unrecognizable. 3 months, I don't know. He kept doing, and then 3 years, it's just skeleton. I don't know. He fucking had something, and I think each of them started with S or something. Like 3 S's. I don't know. And he was like, I invented it myself because I know all this, right? And she's like, oh, wow, that's very impressive. How do you know all of that? And he's like, oh, I just research criminology in my spare time. I really enjoy it, whatever, blah, 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 blah. And then he's like, is that pretty accurate? Like, is that right? And she's like, yeah, that's pretty accurate or something like that. And he like got validation, and you could see him like elated that like somebody
like a
of
kid
authority.
that was proud of doing something right.
Yeah. Yeah. About the most morbid thing. Like, I think he just was so fascinated with this shit, and to be connected with the person who would be the expert, you know?
Yeah.
If you want to check out pictures pertaining to our case, please go to our social media. We're on Instagram, Facebook, X, TikTok, Threads. Our handle is at ISGD Podcast. You should come join the Goddamn Pod group on Facebook. We're all hanging out there, chatting, whatever. You might get to talk to us. You never know.
You never know.
Sometimes I accidentally reply using the like podcast handle, not knowing that I should switch it to my name. And then I'm like, I love that one. And then I'm like, oh, fuck. People are probably like, who the fuck?
Who is this?
If you ever see it from ISGD and it says it's me. I never check that shit. I'm always just like blindly answering. And I'm like, oh my God, I've just been on like a 2-hour rant on the wrong handle.
I is Stacey, by the way. I usually, Aaron, answer with my name.
Yeah, good job. Good job at distinguishing our names
You know?
for somebody out there who doesn't fucking know what's going on.
I feel like most people cannot tell us
don't
apart
know.
still.
Yeah, I know, right? Okay, so also you can email us at isgdpodcast@gmail.com for fucking case suggestions like this one.
Mm-hmm.
It helps us out. Literally,
it
we
does.
have a whole fucking list of the ones that we need to do, and every
know.
time I'm like, what should I do? And I just grab the top one.
Mhm.
That's fucking easiest one. So thank you, Heather,
thinking
for
for us.
horrifying us all.
Yeah.
Also, you can snail mail us at
P.O. Box 2764, Spring Valley, California, 9197.
9. Please subscribe, rate, and review, because the more people that listen, the more fucking important we feel.
Yeah.
Love you guys.
Bye.